The results are in, and Davenport will soon have a new mayor.
Plus, an investigation into thousands of dollars gone missing from the Scott County Sheriff's Office.
WHBF is local for you. This is Local 4 News this morning.
Good Wednesday morning. Thanks for watching Local 4 News this morning. I'm Chris Langlois.
And I'm Emily Scarlett. Davenport voters have made up their minds, and that means a big change at the top.
Former head of the Scott County YMCA, Frank Klipsch, will be the city's next mayor, defeating incumbent Bill Gluba with 67% to Gluba's 33%.
My whole career has been built on bringing people together and let them feel part of a process. And I want to continue that. I have an opportunity now to go out, which I love to do, and bring people together. Meet people from literally all walks of life, and no matter who you are or where you live, bring people together and let them be part of a process.
Gluba has been in office since 2008, but it became clear that the fight for a fifth term in office would not be easy. The incumbent battled an illness back in August and later fell behind Klipsch in the primary election.
Just proud of our service. I think we have, quite frankly, in the last 8 years, an unmatched record of accomplishments, and they're all over the city, but people want to change, and that's the nature of politics, and so be it. I regret getting sick and being out of the picture for 45 days just before an election, and maybe not being able to raise as much money as I should have run, but we ran a positive campaign. Frank's a nice enough guy, and I'm sure he'll do as well as he can for the city, and my advice to him was, you know, it is a full-time job, Frank.
Klipsch will begin his term this January. Many voters say they're excited for this change in leadership.
And more election results. We also know the winners for alderman at large and contested alderman races in Davenport. Kyle Grip wins with 34% of the vote, beating Jason Gordon, Barney Barnhill, and Philip Yarrington. Barnhill's been in office for at least a decade. And in the race for second ward alderman, newcomer Maria Dickman beat incumbent Bill Edmond with 66% of the vote. Edmond had been in office since the year 2009. Third ward alderman now, incumbent Bill Boom, holds on to his seat with 45% of the vote, defeating challenger Carlton Wills. And for fourth ward alderman, incumbent Ray Ambrose will also stay in office with 61% of the vote, topping David Sodeman.
As for fifth ward alderman, Rita Rawson defeats Sheila Burridge with 60% of the vote. And in the race for eighth ward alderman, Carrie Tompkins will retain the seat with 72% over Bob Babcock. All of the other races for alderman were uncontested. And in the race for the mayor of LeClaire, there will be a change there. Ray Allen won with 57% of the vote over incumbent Robert Scannell. Now, in the Clinton mayoral race, while the results are in, we still don't know the city's next mayor because none of the candidates earned the 1,579 votes needed to win. There will now be a runoff with incumbent Mark Bullich and Jennifer Graff facing off December 1st. And Bettendorf Mayor Bob Gallagher will move on to serve his second term. He ran unopposed and got 96% of the votes. You can find all the results from the municipal elections on our website, ourquadcities.com. A large sum of money is missing from the Scott County Sheriff's Department, and investigators say they have a suspect. She's been identified as the former senior accounting clerk Jennifer Weirson. The Scott County Board of Supervisors releasing details on the investigation that show funds were moved from several accounts under the clerk's control. Weirson was fired from the Scott County Jail in April of this year.
Allegedly was quite adept at moving the money so that no one individual would show any loss.
Investigators say more than $160,000 were moved around in the 3 years prior to Wearson's termination. Iowa's Attorney General has yet to determine if or when charges will be filed. Weirson herself was unavailable for comment. Police have arrested a man in connection with a shooting in Burlington this week. The victim, Chantrell Tynes of Chicago, was found suffering from a gunshot wound at a convenience store on the corner of Madison and South Street Monday night. But officers say the shooting initially occurred at a home on the 700 block of South Street after an argument happened there. Detectives say they have arrested Tracy Bryant. He is now in jail facing felony charges of causing willful injury and firearm possession. Bryant is in the Des Moines County Jail with bond set at $10,000. The Kraft Heinz Company is considering building a new facility in Davenport, and the City Council's Committee of the Whole will consider this new development at their meeting tonight. The company wants to put the state-of-the-art food manufacturing plant in the Eastern Iowa Industrial Center. Kraft Heinz has requested city and state economic development incentives to make the new $203 million facility happen. The company has been a large employer in Davenport since buying its current building on West 2nd Street in 1946. The new project will retain at least 475 more full-time jobs. Tonight's Committee of the Whole meeting begins at 5:30.
The fallout continues for embattled airbag supplier Takata. Honda, Takata's biggest customer, dropped the company this week. The development came on the same day U.S. safety regulators hit Takata with a record $70 million fine over an airbag defect that led to 8 deaths and the recall of millions of vehicles. And move over Siri, Google has created a new tool that lets artificial intelligence respond to your emails, dubbed Smart Reply. The system can analyze an email, then suggest brief responses. The new feature will be available to all Gmail users. And Emily, I think this is right up my alley here because sometimes I can just stare at an email. I know it's a simple response, but it'll get me for a few minutes sometimes. A little help never hurt.
Yeah, definitely sounds helpful, but I just can't help but thinking that they're replacing everything that we used to do for ourselves. Now a computer will do it for us. Let's check in with meteorologist Anthony Peoples. I was even seeing a story that Australia will begin testing the driverless cars. So that's another thing that's just taking us out of the driver's seat.
You know, there's just some technology that, 50, 75 years from now may seem like old hat, but, there's just some things out there that you're talking about right now that I don't want any part of.
Yeah, I especially the driving. If that becomes a thing where it's like grandma, grandpa, oh, you guys used to actually drive the cars, like that'll be the day. It could happen. It could happen. I don't know.
It seems like it's on the way, and the argument that they're actually using is that a lot of car accidents that happen are because of human error.
Yeah.
And so once we have the driverless cars, they say that may be something we won't have to worry about so much.
You're right there that, human error is the problem a lot of times, but I've never heard of mechanical failure.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
True. Well, we have our own meteorologist in the flesh here to always interpret our technology and our data. So how are we looking for this Wednesday here?
It's looking pretty nice out there right now. We have some fog across the area, but definitely not as thick as what it was yesterday. Earlier this morning, we thought the visibilities would continue to drop and there was a dense fog advisory. That doesn't appear to be happening right now, so it's not going to look as bad out there this morning as yesterday. Right now, 59 degrees in the Quad Cities, a south wind at 7. That's helping to move the air around a little bit. Yesterday morning we had calm winds, and now with this wind, that's actually moving the air and keeping it from just stagnating and sitting on the ground. So visibilities right now at around 3 to 7 miles. We still have a dense fog advisory in effect for Lee County, for Stark County and Knox County. Keep in mind that those counties are serviced by different weather service offices and outside of the Quad Cities. So while the Quad Cities has canceled the dense fog advisory for our area, the other weather service offices out of Lincoln and Chicago still have those in place. We do have the clouds out there. Basically, fog is just a cloud that touches the ground. And temperatures staying rather warm well into the 50s to near 60 degrees. And right there, late today, temperatures are going to be in the 60s. For tonight, we drop back into the 50s to near 60 degrees. And tomorrow, temperatures pretty similar to today, but we will be introducing rain into our forecast for tomorrow.
All right, and so we are actually just in the beginning of November. So how are we looking in terms of rainfall? Is it something we're needing right now?
Well, we had that nice healthy rain, a few events in late October. So we're not doing too badly. We could always use some because, before we know it, it's going to get dry once again, especially with temperatures as warm as they are and the wind starting to pick up. It does dry the ground out a little bit faster.
All right. Thanks, Anthony.
Well, coming up, a special report this morning for pet owners.
The food you may think is a treat that can actually have deadly consequences.
Stay with us. The time now is 6:10. You're watching Local 4 News this morning.
WHBF is local for you with Chris Langlois, Emily Scarlett, and meteorologist Anthony Peoples. This is Local 4 News this morning in high definition.